Hey, this is Matt Urtz, the Madison County historian. We are still working to document how the COVID-19 pandemic has impacted different people, businesses, places, and things. We are really lucky today to have Kendra Young, the general manager of the Colgate Inn. Kendra, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So when did you guys, COVID start to appear on your radar?
I'd have to say it was really mid-February, mid to late February. And of course, as you know, we're in Hamilton and owned by the university. So there was a lot of talk. We were just following the university, and there was a lot of talk of the plan. And the plan at first was to keep the students on campus, which we were hopeful for. Certainly, that's where the majority of our business comes from. And then it was decided that it was just too risky. And so it was early to mid-March that it was decided that the students would be going home for the remainder of the semester. And that was the end of March.
Okay. So talk about, you guys are twofold. You have a restaurant on site and you also are an inn. Obviously that probably gets folks that are coming up and visiting students there. Talk about the process of you go from having probably regular attendance to almost none.
Yes, absolutely. When we learned on March 16th that we could no longer have in-person dining, we did rapidly switch to a takeout and a delivery model. At that point, we still had several guests staying in the inn, parents that were coming to pick up their students. And so we had still a lot of in-house guests, as well as, we serve the community and value all of our community guests. So we did quite quickly we kept our current menu, but we just offered it as takeout or delivery option.
What was a typical takeout night pre-COVID?
Oh gosh. Fridays and Saturdays, or busy nights if there was a game going on in town, if there's something special, just a busy Friday night. It wouldn't be uncommon to do about $10,000 to $12,000 in sales, and that's between 200 to 300 covers.
Okay. Did that go up during the pandemic?
No, unfortunately it did not, although in the beginning we certainly wouldn't have been able to handle that kind of volume, as we had never done that kind of takeout before. But no, it definitely dramatically decreased. And I think, just everyone was very fearful and didn't know what to expect and didn't really feel comfortable going out to eat. So thankfully we've had some wonderful community support, and we've been able to stay open throughout all of this, keeping the restaurant as well as the inn open. But it's certainly changed how we do business.
And that leads to the next question. Talk about developing a plan. So you go from, even if it was, takeout, they would come in and pick it up. I'm guessing that wasn't the case now.
Yeah, so there was a lot of confusion, and it was definitely challenging trying to navigate the safe way to be open or to be able to offer our menu. We were constantly watching Governor Cuomo's daily updates, looking to the Madison County Health Department for guidance on restaurant reopenings. So things definitely changed, and we just wanted to make sure that we were always up to date and following the latest restrictions, the distancing, things of that sort. So we do have our front entrance there's two sets of doors, and there's a little table in there. So we were able to place the to-go items in there. We would call folks when their order was ready, and then on the bag we would just have their name, and it would be in the alcove. We would just leave a copy of the receipt in the bag. So it was really zero contact.
what about the inn? Talk about the process of that, because obviously I'm sure you had less people staying, but there had to be almost an awkwardness to it for being someone, if there's only a few people staying and you
Yes.
guys do breakfast and stuff, what was that like?
Yes, that was definitely a dramatic change. Um, I just pulled up a few numbers to give you an idea. So in March, we had about 550 occupied guest rooms for the month. That would have been higher, except there was a pretty dramatic decrease that second half of the month. But the month of April, we had 6 occupied guest rooms. And three of those were traveling doctors that came from Kraus to help out at our community memorial hospital here.
Okay.
So it was nice that we could house them. May was still only about 34 rooms, and most of those guests were doctors traveling to help out on their rotation from Kraus to Community Memorial. So it was definitely a very different experience. And we had gone down to a staff of 6. It was all the management staff stayed on board. So we covered the front desk shifts. We stayed overnight at the inn. We executed the takeout menu. And we did at that point decide that breakfast just wasn't really a viable option. Most of our or breakfast revenue comes from our in-house hotel guests.
Right.
So without that component, we felt like we could still serve the community and by offering lunch and dinner, but that no one would be too impacted by discontinuing our breakfast service. Um, June, we started a slower decline or a slower uptick in business. We had 120 guest rooms occupied. And June, mid-June is when we started to bring back some of our hourly line level staff.
Have you, I'm assuming it has not gotten back to normal in terms of the inn.
It really hasn't. No, we're operating at about 50% of our normal revenues for this time of year. Our fiscal year goes from July to June. So we've put together our budget as best as we possibly can. This is definitely a difficult budgeting year with so many unknowns. But we're forecasting for a business decrease in about 50% of our revenues from a normal year.
Okay. Talk about the cleaning process, because obviously that's changed as well. So how has that, I mean, I genuinely don't know what mandates do you now have from the government in terms of cleaning rooms and cleaning spaces?
It's definitely a heightened sense of cleanliness. Before we brought back any of our team members, we did an orientation and a training because it was essentially coming back to a completely different workplace. So we put a lot of measures in place to protect our staff that would be cleaning in terms of, making sure that they were all wearing and had available gloves, masks, the proper cleaning supplies. And then, we researched and made sure that we were using the appropriate chemicals that would kill viruses and things of that sort. Luckily, we've always worked with Ecolab, so our products were up to par. But we did introduce some new ones, and the guest room, that looks a little bit different these days. We don't have any sort of paper products in the room, such as we used to have our restaurant menus in the room. So everything that's in the room is either laminated, it's anything that can be sanitized. So it's taken a little bit of the personal touches away, which is difficult in the hospitality business. So we've had to find different ways to connect to the guests and still offer them a hospitable experience, even though we can't do all the same things that we used to.
Okay. You talked about having a limited staff. Have you been able to bring back your entire staff or no?
We've brought back a good portion. We haven't brought back the entire staff, and certainly hours are limited. Um, Pre-COVID, we had a staff of 85, and now we're down to about 58 is how many we have, and that's not everyone that's full time. That's a lot of part-time hours and folks that can only work here and there, may help us out with different events that we have going on.
Have have you found, I know Colgate, for example, purchased the went in, I think it was what it was called,
Yep.
for their kind of quarantining area. Have you guys been part of that process or not really?
We have been, in terms of when the students came back and they all had to do their mandatory 2-week quarantine. They used the WENT for just students that were coming into town, maybe those who were awaiting their test results. So there were about between 30 and 50 students at the WENT for that 2-week period. And we catered their meals over there 3 times a day. So that was helpful for us, something to keep our staff busy and some people employed. But it's also challenging to do 40 individual takeout meals 3 times a day.
That was my next question. Did they all get the same thing, or how did that work?
Yes, we did a menu, and so it was different every day. But then we also, we needed to accommodate the different dietary restrictions and keep track of, where they were in different parts of the building, because we delivered to 2 sides. So it was definitely logistically challenging, but gave us a new skill. I would say that.
How do you think COVID will change how you do business moving forward?
I think it's definitely changing our landscape. We rely a lot on business travelers, Chobani and Norwich Pharmaceuticals. And I think that businesses have realized how easy it is to meet together over Zoom, and not necessarily have to pay for the airfare and the hotel stays. So that's going to be impactful for us for sure. When we do have events, just being conscious of the safety efforts. Here at the Colgate Inn, we've pride ourselves on having a lot of holiday buffets, Thanksgiving, Easter, Mother's Day. We would average about 600 guests for those events. And for the foreseeable future, we're just not going to be able to safely do a buffet. So we're in the process of figuring out how we can do family style, so we can still have an event, but I don't foresee us being able to do it on the scale we could in the past.
You guys have a bunch of rooms that are meant for meeting and organizations and stuff like that. Have you been able to open those, or is that something that's going to be closed until further notice?
We've been fortunate. We have had a few events. We're allowed, our ballroom has a capacity of 100. So at the 50% capacity and the 50-person max for gatherings, we are able to do 50-person events. So we have had a few small weddings, which has been really nice.
Are you guys open for the general public to come in and sit down and eat, or no?
We are, yes. Yep. We're at 50% occupancy. We're doing an all-day menu from 11 to 8 p.m. And we've been so fortunate to have our outside patio because that's where most people are more comfortable eating. It's been a gorgeous summer, so I really feel fortunate for that. And then, as we head into the fall and colder months, we're just going to really make sure that we can execute and deliver a successful takeout and delivery menu.
Uh, did you find that you had issues getting, I know we've talked to some other restaurants and meat prices skyrocket. So for a little while, beef suddenly goes way up. So we bought chicken, and then chicken went way up. So we bought this. Did you find that you struggled to find certain food types, or it went way up, or you just changed your menu to kind of adapt in the moment?
We definitely have had more of a limited menu, and we did notice some pricing and availability changes. Fortunately, we're part of Charlestown Hotels, so we do have contracted pricing from our bigger vendors, so that's really helped us during this. But there definitely have been some changes or some challenges with sourcing certain items, and never thought we'd spend so much money on paper products.
Well, and that's, yeah. Have you found that the menu, like what people want, has changed at all?
I think the biggest thing that I've noticed is that, well, I think that we did a good job of, um, kind of being preemptive and thinking about this ahead of time of guests being more price conscious, because with just such a unstable economy and not knowing what the future holds, dining out is one of those expenses that is one of the first to go. So we really tried to, we launched daily specials. We do a Monday burger night and feature our tavern burger for $10. We do a Wednesday wing night. So we have a special each night of the week. And that's been really, really popular. So I think just being able to offer still our great food, but being able to have some price conscious specials has really helped.
Okay. Um, Anything else to say to the folks of Hamilton and Madison County?
We're just so appreciative of the continued support and that we're able to still stay open and serve you all. So thank you.
Thank you for taking the time to talk to us. When we started this, I thought it would be short, and we told everybody, it'll be over soon. And now we're 6 or 7 months in, and it's like, I might call you back in like 6 months if things haven't changed, to see how you're doing. So
Yeah, we thought that we were taking this as an opportunity to do a good deep clean of the hotel, but we've had enough cleaning, and yeah, everyone has really just had to adapt for the long haul, and there's no end in sight, but there's definitely some positive things have come out of it, and yeah, we're just doing our best.
thank you again for taking the time. We hope to talk to you soon in better circumstances.
All right, thanks, Matthew.
Yep, you have a good day.
Bye.